All right, let's break down a vulnerability that is frankly a monster. It's CVE 2025-65041, and it earned a perfect severity score. Now, as a security researcher, I've seen my fair share of critical bugs, but this one's different. We're going to go through the whole story, from the moment it was discovered to the global alert, and talk about what it really means for those of us on the defensive front lines.
This is the number that made everyone's heart skip a beat. Microsoft slapped a 10.0 CVSS base score on this vulnerability. In our world, that's as bad as it gets. It's the cybersecurity equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane. It means the flaw is ridiculously easy for an attacker to use, and the damage they can cause is catastrophic.
And look at the target. This isn't some forgotten, dusty server in a closet. We're talking about the Microsoft Partner Center. This is the central command console for thousands of MSPs, the companies that manage IT for countless other businesses. To put it simply, this is the digital set of master keys to the kingdom for a huge chunk of the global economy.
At its heart, the bug is what we call an improper authorization flaw. And in plain English, that means the system just doesn't bother to check if you have permission to do something powerful. It's like walking up to a bank vault, asking it to open, and it just does. An attacker doesn't need to pick a lock or steal a key, they just have to ask.
Okay, so let's really get into the anatomy of this thing. Why did it get that perfect 10.0 score from Microsoft? What makes it so uniquely dangerous? Let's dissect it.
Now, this right here is where it gets really interesting, especially if you're an analyst. Check out the scores. Microsoft says 10.0, perfect. But the US National Vulnerability Database, or NVD, says 9.8. I mean, they're both incredibly critical, right? But that tiny 0.2 difference tells a huge story, and it all comes down to one little letter in that vector string.
And that letter is S for scope. See, NVD scored it as unchanged, which means the damage is contained within the partner center itself. But Microsoft scored it as changed. And that means an attacker can break into this one system and then use that access to jump over and compromise other, totally separate systems.
And this is exactly why Microsoft gave it a 10. A scope change is what keeps security professionals up at night. It's the difference between a house fire and a wildfire. It means a single breach can trigger a devastating domino effect across the entire cloud. An attacker gets into the partner center, and suddenly they have a trusted path to attack every single customer that partner manages.
So how did this go from a top-secret internal investigation to a global public threat? Let's walk through the timeline. For us researchers, this coordinated disclosure process is sacred. It's how we get fixes out there while trying to keep a lid on things. You can see this whole thing plays out over several incredibly tense months. It's this high-wire act, right? You have to balance the secrecy needed to build a solid fix against the urgent need to warn the public before all hell breaks loose. It all kicks off right here. November 13th, Microsoft reserves the CVE number. This is ground zero. The clock officially starts ticking for their internal teams to figure out what's wrong and, more importantly, how to fix it before it becomes public knowledge. Then comes Disclosure Day. On December 18th, the secret is out. The vulnerability is public. The starting gun has been fired, and now it's a flat-out race. You've got defenders like us scrambling to patch and mitigate, and on the other side, attackers are racing to build a weaponized exploit.
A few weeks later, NVD finishes its own independent analysis. Now, this is a huge step. It's like getting a second opinion from a world expert. It provides that official third-party validation that says, yep, this is just as bad as Microsoft said it was, adding a ton of weight to the report.
And in the final phase, the machines get to work. Modern AI-powered threat intel platforms start churning through the data. They add crucial context, they analyze how it might affect specific industries, and they even flag specific risks for organizations under heavy regulation, like GDPR in Europe. Okay, so we've talked scores and timelines, but what's the actual real-world impact here? What's the blast radius of a vulnerability like this? Because it's way bigger than just one system.
Because the partner center is this trusted hub, a compromise isn't just about one company. An attacker could essentially become a super admin for every single one of that partner's customers. Think about it. They could steal data, hijack cloud subscriptions, and launch these absolutely devastating supply chain attacks, using the partner's own trusted access against their clients. The potential for damage is just staggering.
Analyzing the threat is one thing, but for us defenders, we need a plan. We need an actionable playbook. So let's shift gears from the problem to the solution and look at how we can actually stop an attack like this in its tracks.
Now, obviously, Microsoft isn't going to just hand over the full exploit details. So based on the type of flaw, we have some very strong evidence-based hypotheses on how it works. The general consensus is that this is a logic flaw, a simple mischeck in the code, not some super complex memory corruption bug. And honestly, those are often the most dangerous.
And here is the good news. Even without knowing the exact line of code that's broken, we absolutely know how to defend against this. These 5 steps are your playbook. It's about getting the fundamentals right. You enforce strong MFA, you lock down admin roles with least privilege, you actually watch your logs. By doing this, you're not just hardening against this one bug, you're hardening the entire management plane.
When you zoom out from this one specific CVE, there's a really critical lesson here for anyone who's managing infrastructure in the cloud. The game has changed, and our defenses have to change with it.
And this quote just nails it. The takeaway is this: securing the cloud isn't just about firewalls anymore. It's about engineering authorization, who can do what, into the very DNA of your applications. It has to be treated as a core feature, not something you tack on at the end. So I'll leave you with this one question to take back to your teams, to your architects, to your developers. Because in a world where a single, simple logic flaw can bring down an entire supply chain, the answer to this question could be the thing that determines whether you're ready for the next 10.0.